This conference will now be recorded.
All right, thanks, Brian. Why don't we get started? The first item on the agenda is welcome. So welcome everyone to the Montachusett MPO meeting today. Brian, you want to read the roll?
Yes, so I'm just going off of who we have signed up and who I see here on the screen. We have Steve Wolfel representing Mass DOT Secretary and CEO Tesla.
Here.
Ann Sullivan representing Highway Division Administrator Gulliver.
Here.
Trevor Beauregard, Gardner.
Here.
Guy Corbisiero, MRPC.
Here.
George Kahali, Mark.
Present.
Is Brian Croto here from District 1? I don't see him here yet, so I'll keep my eye out for him. Rosemary Meisner, Subregion 2.
Here.
And I do not see anyone from Subregion 3, the towns of Air, Harvard, Lunenburg, or Shirley, or Subregion 4, Clinton, Lancaster, and Sterling. If I'm wrong on that, please speak up and I can count you towards the roll. In any event, we have enough for a quorum.
All right. So next item agenda is agenda item 2, public comments. Are there any members of the public who would like to address the MPO today? All right. Seeing none, we will move on to agenda item 3, which is approval of the minutes for May 18, 2022. Can I get a motion second to approve those minutes?
So move, Guy Corbisiero.
I second.
I think that was George.
Yes.
Second. All right. Are there any changes or comments on the minutes?
Yeah, I just have one.
Oh, sure. Go, Brian.
To amend the members and guests present. In the minutes that went out, there was some errors in a few of the members. I think there was a phone number listed for some reason, but we fixed that in the minutes you see on your screen.
All right. So Guy and George, you guys are fine with that editor's change?
Yes.
Yes.
So any other comments on them? All right. Seeing none, Brian, can you read the roll, please?
Steve Wolfel, representing Secretary Tesla.
Yes.
Ann Sullivan, representing Representative or Highway Division Chief Gulliver.
Yes.
Trevor Beauregard, Gardner.
Yes.
Guy Corbisiero, MRPC.
Yes.
George Kahali, Mark.
Yes.
And Rosemary Meisner, Subregion 2.
Yes.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Brian. We'll move on to agenda item 4, which is an update from MassDOT on the statewide long-range transportation plan. I'm guessing, Chris, you're going to do a quick update?
Yeah, this is me. Thank you, Steve. So no official update this month, but Brad Harris thought it might be a good idea to have this as sort of a standing agenda item so we could keep members informed when updates do come, and just continue a dialogue around the plan. So I want to encourage members to take the survey if they haven't already, and please share that with their community members, families, friends. We've gotten a good amount of responses so far, but we're always pushing for more. It's going to have a really significant impact on our actions moving forward. So I encourage you to take a look at the website, take the survey, and feel free to review anything and come back to us if you have any questions. Thank you.
All right. Anyone have any questions for Chris? All right. Thank you, Chris. We'll move on to agenda item 5, which is the Montachusett Federal Fiscal Year 2022 to 2026 tip. Brian, I assume this goes back to you?
Yes. So, yep, this is the amendment number 5 of the 22 through 26 tip that the MPO voted to send for public comment period last month's meeting. That comment period ran from May 24th through June 13th, and this is in regards to project 609-314, which is in Ashby intersection improvements at Greenville Road and Turnpike Road. The amendment was due to a cost increase due to increased drainage and excavation costs. The cost increased $721,315, or approximately 28.8%, for a total of $3,224,713. During the comment period, we received no comments on the project, and we're looking for a motion to endorse Amendment 5, fiscal year 22 tip.
All right. So can I get a motion second to endorse tip
So
amendment
moved
5?
by Corbisiero.
Second, Ann Sullivan.
All right. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, Brian, you want to read the roll, please?
Steve Wolfel, representing Secretary Tesler.
Yes.
Ann Sullivan, representing Administrator Jonathan Gulliver.
Yes.
Trevor Beauregard, Gardner.
Yes.
Guy Corbisiero, MRPC.
Yes.
George Kahali, Mart.
Yes.
And Rosemary Meisner, Subregion 2.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So, Brian, there's a second part to that.
So yes, we have an additional item on there. That was a
Yep.
placeholder. Originally, we thought that there may be a need for a amendment to the transit section in 2022, but that's not needed. So we
All
can disregard that.
All right. So we're off of Agenda 5 and moving to Agenda 6, correct, Brian?
Correct.
All right. So Agenda 6 is the Montachusett Regional Transportation Plan. I know Brad is not here, so Brian, I think you're handling it, right?
Yep.
All right.
Yep, so it's time for us to begin to develop our regional transportation plan, and this is the federally required document that we're required to do every 4 years as an MPO. So basically, it's a long-term blueprint for the region's transportation system, and we look at the current network, and we try to identify some trends, and do some analysis, and try to identify some needs, and compare it to the past and into the future as well. So we're just beginning the process now. Basically, this is a draft development schedule. This is, we based this off of how we developed these in the past. The last one was done in 2019. So that's the one we're sort of updating. And so we'll be looking at all modes of transportation network across the region, meaning highway, transit, bus, trains, bike ped, what have you, all the above. The first step will be we'll be looking at this. Excuse me. The next few months we'll be trying to develop a vision statement for the plan. This is the first step, and from there we'll be looking at discussing goals for the region, and we'll be bringing in the JTC and the MPO to these discussions as well over the next few months. From there, we plan on looking at some public outreach. Typically, we created a website specific to the RTP. A questionnaire will be developed, and we'll push that out to the public as well. We'll try to get as much response as possible. We'll be expanding our outreach contacts beyond the traditional circles that we traditionally have. And typically in the last few go-arounds of this, we've had outreach sessions in each sub-region. So we'll be looking at doing that possibly in the fall of this year. From there, the analysis portion of the transportation plan will be likely occurring over the winter of this year. We'll look at the most recent census numbers and developing those trends that I spoke on, and identifying some needs and possibly some financial needs for the region as well. So we'll have various discussions with the MPO and the JTC throughout the process. We plan on having something together next year in terms of a draft RTP, and we'll need to have a public comment period for that as well, and it'll be ultimately an MPO endorsed plan, hopefully sometime maybe next summer around this time. So it'll be a major item that'll pop up on agendas throughout the year, and we'll make sure to keep the MPO updated as we go about. As I mentioned, the first step is really the coming up with a vision statement. We'll be pulling the JTC into that process next month or so. Also on the handouts is the executive summary for the current RTP, which is called Working Towards the Future to 2040. As I mentioned, this was developed in 2019, and this will just give the group a bit of an understanding of what goes into an RTP. We have a number of things listed here, including the current vision statement. So I'll just read the current vision statement. The Montachusett Metropolitan Planning Organization seeks to provide a multimodal transportation system that is safe, secure, efficient, and affordable to all individuals while maintaining support and encouragement for the economic development, growth, revitalization, while simultaneously promoting a sustainable, healthy, livable, and environmentally sensitive region. And we talked about possibly parsing down that vision statement and having something that's aspirational, but sort of more compact. We want to include as much as possible, but we want to sort of simplify it a bit. So we'll be working with the GTC in the next few months in that. So this is just sort of an introduction to the process, and we have the draft development schedule that will go off for now. And, there should be many more updates coming in the next year or so.
All right, Brian, you ready for any questions?
Yeah, if there's any further questions, feel free to reach out to us, or if you think a community may be interested in one of the outreach sessions, by all means, reach out to myself or Brad, and I'm sure we'll be pushing out some emails of some sort in the near future as well.
All right, any questions for Brian right now? All right, seeing none, thank you, Brian. As Brian said, this will be a big topic for us, so all right, let's see now. We're on to now agenda item 7, which is the MART TAM plan update. So Bonnie, I think I heard you say earlier you were going to do that, so take it away.
Okay. Brian, are you going to present, or do you want me to bring up my PowerPoint? Okay. Awesome. All right. So I have given Brad and Brian both a PDF of this presentation. Here, I'll put my camera on so you guys can see me. And as well as a full copy of our updated TAM plan. So every 4 years, we are required to update our TAM plan. And this is the first round of year number 4. So, so most of the updates, so I'll just go through. Brian, can you go to the next page? So what I basically did is I took, you can keep going. I took the presentation that I did in 2018 and I just updated it. I've left the content in the presentation for those of you who weren't here 4 years ago to hear the discussion. So MART is required under MAP 21 and updates under the FAST Act, and I'm sure there will be more updates coming later in future bills, to have a transit asset management plan. That's what TAM stands for. This is the law that we have here. MART has to do a tier 1 plan because we have over 100 vehicles on the road in our demand response service at any time. During like the peak of COVID, when we lost a lot of ridership, we actually went under that 100 vehicles, and we thought for a while that we probably wouldn't get back to 100 vehicles, and we're kind of excited about downgrading, but now we're still too close to it, so we've decided just to keep with our tier 1 plan. Yeah, so you can go ahead and proceed to the next page. So these are the 9 areas that have to be addressed in every TAM plan. Inventory of your capital assets, the condition assessment of those assets, identification of decision support tools to help you prioritize investments, which of course the tools lead to the investment prioritization, a TAM and SGR policy, implementation strategy, a list of key annual activities, identification of resources, and then an evaluation plan of how is your TAM going? Are you following the rules? And of course, making continuous improvements to that plan. Next slide. You can keep going. So these are the TAM elements. So this is our capital asset inventory. These are the most updated mileages and values and vehicle inventory as of June 9th is when I had our maintenance department run me the latest vehicle inventory with the updated mileages and everything. So we currently have 181 total revenue vehicles with an average age of 5.5 years. So you can see that we're pretty good we're under our, the SGR. All of our vehicles are relatively newer. During COVID, we were able to dispose of a lot of vehicles, which was good because we didn't need them. We are down to 19 large buses. We're down that much, which is about 10 buses from what we had probably 5, 6 years ago. What MART has been doing is replacing large 35-foot buses with more right-sized, low-floor cutaways. Over the course of the last 2 years, we have purchased 18 low-floor cutaways. So that's what you see reflected in that cutaway bus line. Because of the size of the vehicle, we still have to classify it as a cutaway bus, but it is used in fixed route service. And then we have 7 actual, like 15 passenger type vans. One big change from last time to this time is we were told by NTD that we had our staff SUVs that our inspectors use and our supervisors use classified kind of as its own category. And we were told that we had to put those under trucks and other rubber tire vehicles. And we thought that was kind of odd because, it's an SUV. I think of it more of an automobile than a big truck. And the trucks and rubber truck tire vehicles has like a 14-year useful life benchmark, whereas an automobile only has a 5-year useful life benchmark. So we thought it was kind of strange that those would be classified that way, but they are. So we went from like one rubber tired vehicle to 23 rubber tired vehicles because of all of our SUVs that we have. And you'll also notice that our non-revenue service automobiles, those are all down to zeros, where those were, I think at the time 4 years ago, we had 4 of them, and we are down to 0, and we don't plan on buying any more sedans, which is what we had there before. So only 4-wheel, all-wheel drive vehicles for inspectors, etc. So, and then of course our vehicles. We did add 1 parking structure. Parking structures was at 3 last time, and now it's at 4 with the opening of the air garage in January of 2020. So, okay, next. So this, of course, has a lot of the same information, but the 2 columns that are additional is this one shows the mileage or the term rating, as well as the percentage of at or past useful life benchmark. So as you can see, for revenue vehicles, we are 7% of our vehicle fleet is at or past a useful life benchmark. Our buses are at 10.5% because we have two vehicles that were actually 2007 buses, but they've had engine overhauls. So it kind of looks at that 2007 year, but it doesn't really realize that they got new engines in 2020 and 2021. So it doesn't see that newness of it. So it's kind of a sort of a glitch in the calculation. But anyway, so we have to hold on to those for a couple more years. And then our cutaways are at 7% and our vans are at 0 right now. And our SUVs are at 8.7. Other than that, everything is in a state of good repair compliance. Next slide. So this is how we measure our performance targets. There's a rating. The term ratings, these are used to to rate our facilities, and also our mechanics use them to gauge the condition of the vehicles. When a mechanic does a PM or a repair to a vehicle, part of the information that they turn back to us now, this is something we implemented 4 years ago with the last thing, is they have to do an assessment of the vehicle when they're finished the PM. That way the vehicles are routinely getting assessed and reported on their current conditions. So it's, excellent, good, adequate, marginal, and poor. And our asset categories are rolling stock equipment and facilities. Next slide. So these are our targets that we have set for FY23 through FY27. Oop, I see a little typo in the slide. That last column is supposed to be 27. MART is required to set new targets every year. There we have a 5-year target thing that is set in the TAM plan, and that should get you through the end of the TAM plan to the next time you have to do updates. But every year in our NTD reporting, depending on how many vehicles we were able to purchase or how many vehicles we were able to dispose of during the course of the year, these are adjusted. And every year for our NTD reporting, new targets are set. And I believe those targets are also incorporated into the annual TIP. So any updates that we do that we report to NTD also get incorporated in through the TIP process, the updates to these targets. So I believe that's is there one more slide, Brian, or is that the last one? Oh, this is just the decision and support investment prioritization. These two aspects of our plan have not changed. These are the two that have stayed the same. We are still utilizing the database. We're still using, like I said, the process where the mechanics are updating the conditions. Our capital projects director, he's the one who does the assessments, the term scale assessments of our facilities. So those are still used to set investments in the different rehab projects that we do throughout our facilities. And I believe there's one last slide after this. And then we implement those strategies. We have a maintenance strategy. We have a very strong preventative maintenance program that hasn't changed at all. We always get excellent marks every year, every 3 years during our triennial review. Our overhaul strategy, we have FY23 is going to be the first year where we're actually going to do a true midlife rehab, the entire bus overhaul, and we're going to be doing those to our 20 some of our 2013s, but our 2016 buses. And our disposals, COVID presented a really great opportunity to be able to get rid of a lot of older vehicles just because the ridership was way down because of COVID itself. And so a lot of the older vehicles that were kind of hanging around and being used as spares or being cannibalized for parts are being disposed of in a more timely manner. That's how we can have such good SGR numbers right now. And then I've already kind of gone over our key annual activities. That's continually updating the asset inventories with the annual reconciliation, which is done by our senior accounts manager. Updating the CIPs to go along with our TAM review. The annual term light reviews are done by our capital projects director, and for the first time we are able to have a consistent schedule now that the 4 years have passed and all of the facilities have been reviewed, because NTD let us kind of break up our reviews into kind of chunks of 1/4 of your facilities over the course of each of the first 4 years. Now that the 4 years is complete, we have a complete schedule of when the last assessment was done. So then we know that, okay, these are the facilities that have to be done by this date and time of this year and for the next 4 years. So that has been added as an appendix at the end of um, the plan, as well as the FY23 to 27 tip, or our project list that went into the tip. So that's it. That's the end of my presentation. Did anybody have any questions?
All right, does anyone have any questions for Bonnie? And Bonnie, are we looking for a vote today? We are,
No,
right?
so the MPO does not have to vote. This is not something that requires approval of the MPO. I have to present it to the MPO, and I have to present our target numbers to MassDOT. That's all that's required.
All right. So does anyone have any questions for Bonnie? All right. I don't see
I have a
anybody.
question, actually. Steve, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Bonnie, just curious what Mart's doing to try to encourage more use of electric vehicles. Whether you have a policy, whether that plan is the right medium to move that policy or identify it, but do you have anything in place now? Especially your
So
fleet vehicles?
So MART is MassDOT is doing a electric vehicle feasibility study for all of the RTAs, and that feasibility study is supposed to be out. They told us mid-June. It is mid-June. We haven't seen it yet, so hopefully it's coming very, very soon. And so we weren't sort of they weren't going to give us match money until we had completed the study process. So now that the study process is wrapping up, we'll be able to do some planning, low no grants, etc. We have also last week we had a meeting with National Grid, who's been reaching out to a bunch of the RTAs in the region. And we've been communicating with them and talking with them about their electrification fleet assistance process. So it is in the works. We weren't allowed to, like I said, program any electric vehicles until the feasibility study was done. So most likely when we do the FY24 tip, you will see a change in the process there for more electric vehicles. We've been outreached by Mass DEP to spend some of the Volkswagen mitigation funds. And so we are working with them to replace. So the last three 2007 vehicles that did not have an overhaul, they are out of our current fleet and sitting currently in a pending disposal hold. So those three vehicles will most likely be replaced with electric vehicles. Because they were the only vehicles in our fleet that qualified under the Volkswagen, whatever the regulations were regarding those funds. And so we will most likely be getting 3 electric vehicles in the next year to 2 years under that Volkswagen money. So
Thank you.
yes.
All right. Other questions? All right. Thanks, Bonnie.
You're welcome.
All right. With that, let's move on to agenda item 8, which are updates. First is from the Highway Division. I don't know, Ann, if it's going to be you or Sarah, whoever.
I have it.
All right, go ahead, Ann.
All right, so the regional targets, there were two projects on the regional target, Lancaster and Hubbardston. They've both been advertised. Lancaster Route 117 at 70 intersection improvements was advertised March 26th. Hubbardston Route 68 was advertised June 4th. For some of our bridge projects, Fitchburg, Circle Street, the ad date is August 27th. That's at PSNE. There's some environmental permitting and right-of-way that still needs to occur. The Petersham, I don't know if District 2 is on, but that was advertised June 11th. If there's anything to add. Gardner, Westminster Route 2 resurfacing. That ad date is July 16th. It's at PSNE. There is no right-of-way, and environmental should be okay. So that should be on. That should advertise at that date, if not even a little earlier. Ashby, Route 31 at Turnpike Road. That ad date is August 27th. That PSNE is due June 24th. It still needs some environmental permitting and needs to complete the right-of-way. Leominster Viscaloid Ave, the ad date is August 13th. That's also at PSNE. Environmental is okay. It hasn't cleared yet, but it's about to clear, and we're just the right-of-way. The city is working on the right-of-way. Gardner Elm Street was moved off the tip for 2022, and it's on FY 2023. There was a change in the school. The school went from an elementary school to an alternative school, and we kind of reevaluated, so we ended up pushing that off a year. So that's everything for 2022.
All right, any questions for Ann?
And this is
Okay.
Tom Ruda in District 2. I have some updates as well.
All right, go ahead. So there's no questions for Ann. Go ahead, Tom.
Okay, just to add a little bit more info to the Petersham project, this is 608850. Yes, that was advertised for bids on Saturday the 11th, and the bid opening date is July 12th, 2022, and I'll wait for the fiscal 23 projects.
Sorry, Tom. I don't know if anyone else had this problem. Having a little bit hard to understand you. I don't know if the speaker or...
Sorry, is this any better?
That's better, Tom.
Okay. Just a quick repeat. The Petersham project, 608850, Glen Valley Road over the east branch of the Swift River. Yes, it was advertised Saturday, June 11th. The bid opening date is July 12th. And I will let Ann present the fiscal 23 projects, and I have 2 of those to talk about.
Ann, were you going to present 2023 or not? No. So Tom, if you want to go ahead with 2023, go ahead.
Okay. Those 2 projects are first Templeton roundabout construction at the intersection of Patriots Road, South Main Street, North Main Street, Gardner Road, otherwise known as routes 2A and 101. The project is at 100% design under review. The review closes on Friday, June 17th. The current ad date is January 14th next year, and it appears we're on track to make that ad date. The other project is a non-target project. This is 609-107 Phillipston Templeton pavement preservation on Route 2. The design is at final PS&E and will be submitted to headquarters for advertising by the end of this week, June 17th. And the current ad date was actually moved forward. The current ad date is 12/10 this year, moved forward from January next year. And that's all I have.
All right, any questions for Tom? All right, seeing none, thank you, Ann. Thank you, Tom. We'll move on to the next update, which is transit. George, you got anything, or Bonnie?
Yes, I have a couple of things. At MART Advisory Board, at their scheduled meeting on May 17, voted to accept the town of Phillipston as MART member community. MART region total now is 24 communities. The other thing I have is MART is being awarded $180,000 to purchase shelters through the Shared Streets and the Spaces program under Mass DOT fiscal year, federal fiscal year 23. and the fund will be available, as you know, sometime after October 1st. And we'll be installing these shelters in Fitchburg, Gardner, and Atoll. The other thing I have is Air Depot Square Pedestrian Plaza. The construction of Phase 3 of Depot Square Pedestrian Plaza, located at the MBTA station, has begun. The Phase 3 of the project is the restroom facility at the plaza. MART anticipates the completion of the project by the fall. And also I have is MART automatic fare collection system. GenFare is available now online for purchasing bus passes. And the mobile app will be in the App Store sometime this month. It is part of this app. Also, you can do more than just buying fares. You can do trip planners, bus schedule, looking at bus schedule, and service alerts. And also will be purchasing ticket vending machines, part of this program, 6 of them this year and 6 next year. The 6 of this year will be coming sometime in July, August, and we'll be installing them in Atoll, in Fitchburg, in Leominster, and some other places.
George, I actually have an update on that. So the first two TVMs will be delivered next week, and they will be installed at the intermodal at the beginning of July.
That's great news.
Thanks, Bonnie.
Thank you.
George, is that it?
Yes, thank you.
All right, anyone have any questions for George? All right, seeing none. Thank you, George. Thank you, Bonnie. Next update is from the JTC. Brian, do you have anything?
Yep, the JTC met last Wednesday, June 8th. We discussed tip amendment number 5, and we also had a presentation on MART's new ticketing system and mobile app. Also, the nominating committee of the JTC presented a slate of officers for chair, vice chair, and secretary. They are Dick Hillhart from Athol as chair, Travis Condon from North Central Mass Chamber of Commerce for vice chair, and for secretary, there were 2 nominees, Guy Corbacero of Winchton and Bob Schwartz of Gardner. So elections will take place at the next meeting, which is July 13th at 2:30. Also, the JTC decided after July meeting, they'll go to an every other month schedule, carrying the remainder of the year. Therefore, the schedule will be July 13th. We'll skip the August meeting. September 14th, skip October, meet November 9th. Also, if there's any need to meet, say a tip amendment or anything of that sort, we will reach out to members and schedule those meetings as needed. There's one handout in regards to the Northern Tier Passenger Rail Study. This is the May 2022 newsletter. Basically just provides a status report of an updated study, as well as announcement for the upcoming next working group meeting that's set for June 22nd at 1 p.m. And this information is also on our website as well. Also, staff attended a webinar on Monday on the new federally funded program, Safe Streets and Roads for All. Currently, there's a number of webinars ongoing with this program. This particular webinar on Monday covered the recently released notice of funding opportunity. And applications for this program are due by September 15th. And staff will be discussing this internally, and we'll be also discussing the upcoming JTC meeting on the 13th. The last item I have is MRPC received copies of letters to Leominster, Lancaster, and Sterling regarding recent actions by the Project Review Committee for DOT. The two projects, the first was given number 617659, Leominster, Lancaster, pavement preservation and related work on Route 2. And the second project, which was given number 612730, Harvard Littleton, resurfacing related work on Route 2 from Old Littleton Road Bridge to east of Wickham River. They were determined they're eligible for funding, and based on the project estimates, they were giving initial price for the Leominster project, $4,920,000, and for the Harvard Littleton project, $5,631,250. And we'll be incorporating that information to the TIP development for next year. That's all I have for the JTC.
All right, any questions for Brian? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to the next update, which is from the RPC. Anything, Guy, do you have anything?
Yes, I do have a couple of small items. Our GIS department continues to deliver services to assessors' offices in Ayer, Clinton, Royalston, Shirley, Townsend, and Westminster, and to make periodic updates to the MRP Mr. Mapper website. If you go to Mr. Mapper website, you'll see some of the regional web apps that they offer, such as traffic count locations, roadway classifications, pavement conditions, and also, as I have mentioned, some of the community apps such as the Ayers Assessors, Clinton's Assessors, and also a Mr. Mapper user manual. So if you get lost on there, there's something to go on. So it might be worth checking out the Mr. Mapper webpage. Then in planning and development, MRPC maintains a spreadsheet which identifies grants available to communities. 8 programs have been identified. Grant funds are available for a variety of local needs. If you have any interest in seeing what these programs are, please contact Karen Chapman. She's our planning and development director. And then also within the planning and development department, they're working on delivering services under 13 contracts to at least 11 of our communities, while brownfield environmental site assessment and economic development planning programming is available to all 22 cities and towns. The next quarter update of all projects will be completed and distributed in July. And again, contact Karen Chapman for any further information. And that's all I have today.
All right, any questions for Guy? Thanks, Guy. We're on to the next agenda item, which is agenda item 9, administrative matters. Brian, what's our next meeting?
Yep, our next meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, July 20th, 1 p.m. and virtually. And also, as I mentioned, the JTC has opted to go every other month through the end of the year. The major TIP and UPWP items are taken care of for the year. And in the past, the MPO has opted to do the same. So if the group wishes, we could tentatively schedule the July meeting and discuss going every other, just like the JTC from there. And of course, if there's anything that pops up, amendment or something of that nature, we reach out to the group before the scheduled meeting.
All right, so we can talk about that in July then, Brian. So makes sense. All right. We're on to agenda item 10, adjournment. Can I get a motion and a second to adjourn, please?
So move, Guy Corbacero, to adjourn.
Second, Ann Sullivan.
Thanks, Sam. All right, all in favor of adjourning, please say aye.
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 All right, any opposed, any abstention? All right, thank you, everyone. We will see you in July, and take it easy and be safe and start enjoying the nice weather. Thank you.
Yeah. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, Brian. Thanks, everyone.